touchdowns and passing for almost 1,000 yards in just 2 games as a starter, and the rest as a backup. Manning currently sits at plus 750 to win the Heisman according to ESPN Bet. Arch, how do you feel about the preseason hype?
I'm not really sure how they get these opinions because I've only played, 2 games? But I guess that's nice of them to say, but, that doesn't mean anything. Talk is cheap. I got to go prove it.
All right. Arch's talk is cheap, he says. Dog, how you feeling about that?
Well, first off, I like the quote. Good quote. Remember the 2 games last year that he played well in Mississippi State, who was awful. I think it was Louisiana Monroe, Paul. It was one of those, that didn't do anything, and he had great games. When I saw him play in snippets, I wasn't blown away, and so I got to see a lot more. And they play Ohio State on Labor Day weekend in Columbus. National championship, Ohio State, national champions. We'll get a little feel there. He'll be right in the mix because Texas is Texas. They have plenty of opportunities. They do play at Georgia later in the year, and he is going to be good, but I'm going to be a little reticent. Here's the schedule. Little reticent about saying he's the Heisman Trophy favorite as the season begins.
Finebaum.
Paulie.
Doggy, I can't believe you're using such a small sample size. The expectations on Arch Manning have nothing whatsoever to do with last year. Of course he didn't play very much. You know what? He should have played more, and had he played more, it's very possible that Texas would be the defending champion right now instead of Ohio State, because Quinn Ewers was awful. He made a mess out of that game against Ohio State in the semifinals in the Cotton Bowl, and Steve Sarkisian, who I think is a great coach, should have changed quarterbacks, but he was loyal to a fault. So Arch gets his chance now. Yeah, he was panicky at times because it was his first opportunity, but he's a great student. Is that because he's a Manning? No, that's what Steve Sarkisian told me yesterday. Nobody is better prepared. Nobody has been studying the game longer. He texts every day with Archie Manning. You may have heard of him, dog. That's back in your day and mine. But the point is, he did everything. Just because you do well in media, and he was brilliant yesterday. He didn't answer a question wrong. He even threw barbs at Steve Spurrier for throwing barbs at him. He is just a total package. And is he the Heisman Trophy winner today? Of course not. But I think he'll have a reasonable chance at the end of the season. And you're worried about Ohio State. Tell me who their quarterback is, doggy. Julian Sayin. He's never played. He spent 15 minutes at Alabama when Nick Saban was there, and the second Saban left, he flew the coop. I'm not that impressed. I am impressed with Arch Manning, and I'm very confident that Arch Manning and Texas will go up there on Labor Day weekend, as you said, and win that game.
I'm impressed with Arch Manning based on how he handled those questions, which, let's be honest about this. The reason he's the Heisman Trophy favorite right now, in large part, is because of his last name. That helps the Vegas betting markets. You mentioned the sample size, Monica. What was it, 1,000 yards, 13 touchdowns, 95 pass attempts in the last 2 years, 2 starts. So not enough of a sample size to anoint him when you look at all the other quarterbacks in college football right now. Cade Klubnik threw 36 touchdowns last year. He's a preseason Heisman Trophy favorite. Garrett Nussmeier, of all the quarterbacks returning to college football, has the most passing yards from a year ago and another year in that offense at LSU. Dante Moore, don't sleep on him, the UCLA transfer who's now at Oregon. There's a lot more quarterback star power in college football this year than there was a year ago. Not saying that Arch can't get it done. I mean, certainly he goes up to the horseshoe. If they win there in week 1, that's the tone setter for the season. And we're all talking about him being the real Heisman Trophy favorite at that point. I think it's a little too early to anoint him, given he hasn't played that much. He was a backup for the last 2 years, but I like the way he's handling his business.
All right, let's broaden out the conversation. Obviously, we'll be Manning watch all season long at that particular position and for the Heisman. But at large, you guys, who are you taking? Is it going to be the SEC or the field to win the Natty, doggy?
Well, first off, Paul must have been watching Vanderbilt highlights when he missed Ewers, who on a 4th down completion beat Arizona State. And then the next week, or the week before, scored 50 points against Clemson. So to kill Ewers is totally out of line. But that's another point here or there. I'll take the SEC. LSU is going to be very good. Alabama's going to be good. Obviously, Texas is going to be good. Georgia's Georgia. Florida's good. South Carolina's got a pretty good quarterback. Missouri's competent. That conference is so much better than all these other conferences, top to bottom. So at the end of the day, I'll go SEC instead of anybody else. I'll take SEC.
Copy that. Courtney.
Not just my Big Ten bias here, but I am going the field because I think that beyond Ohio State, Penn State, a team that has its 2 running backs, 1,000-yard rushers from a year ago, they're back, Drew Aller's back. That's 2 teams right there. Then you can look at teams like Oregon, Clemson, and can we not forget about Notre Dame, the team that kicked my Indiana Hoosiers out of the CFP last year that was in the national championship game? Speaking of Heisman Trophy favorites, they might have one in Jeremiah Love this year. Their star running back. There's such a balance of power in college football that we're seeing shift. It's not just the SEC dominant run every single year. You can go ahead and pencil, Georgia, Alabama, LSU, all the teams that you mentioned. They're going to have some competition this year, so I will take the field over the SEC.
Okay. Tie break to you, Finebaum.
Well, of course, I'm here at SEC Media Days, and of course, I'm going to take the SEC. And it's not because of location. It's because of what Doggy said. He actually got this right. The SEC has so many opportunities. Certainly, Texas has the best. But I just got through sitting next to Kalen DeBoer. You may remember him, Doggy. He's the Alabama coach. He's the guy who replaced Saban. He has a team that's very capable. I mean, he's got a much better chance this year than last year when he completely blew up the season with 4 losses. But you mentioned LSU. They're under a lot of pressure week 1, but Nussmeier might be number 1 in the draft come next April. And yes, nobody's forgotten Georgia. They're capable. I don't think they're quite up to the standard, but Georgia has been preseason number 1 for a couple of years. And all this talk about the Big Ten dominance, first of all, if Georgia had not blown the game against Alabama 2 years ago across the street from where I am, they would have beaten Michigan. That's not even in question. Because by then, Michigan was no longer able to steal signs, and they wouldn't have been able to win the game against a really quality team. So here's where we are. There's a lot of variables, but you will never go broke betting on the SEC to win the national championship.
Yeah, that seems safe. But okay, so with that in mind, we got 2 for the SEC, and then Courtney obviously has the field. What team in college football is under the most pressure to actually pull it off and win it all?
Well, I'm going to put winning it all is a little strong because I don't think they're going to do that. But I think Lincoln Riley at USC needs a good year.
Good year is Final Four?
Good year is, be very competitive, be in the mix for a playoff, have some big wins. His defense has been bad. The quarterback left. He's got the new quarterback in there who played very well. But it's Southern California. They got Ohtani there. They got Luka there. They want big stars. He has not done a great job these last 2 years, defensively specifically. Mr. Finebaum and I have thought about Riley a lot. I'm going to point it to a coach more than a team. I think Lincoln Riley at USC needs to turn around and have a big season.
And that would be semifinal, not Final Four. Finebaum, who you got?
Doggy, you said Lincoln Riley hasn't been very good the last couple of years. He's been terrible. I mean, I don't know what you've been watching. I mean, his last year and the year before were fraudulent. And if it wasn't for about an $80 or $90 million buyout, he should have already been gone. But he has another chance, according to Doggy. My guy is James Franklin in Penn State. A lot of people think they have the best team in the country. They were turning everybody, and they made it to the semifinals last year, and they had a 10-point lead against Notre Dame, and they should have won the game. But guess what happened, Doggy? James Franklin got in the way of his team winning. He made some